And welcome everybody to another edition of the Brody File. We are glad you're with us. It's election season. Ho-ho! Donald Trump. Choo-choo! That's right. That's the train. That's the Trump train, by the way. It has left the It's been leaving the station for a while, folks. And again, on Tuesday, it happened. 4 big states. I mean, let's go over them. North Carolina, Illinois, Florida. That's the big one. Missouri. That's 4. The Northern Mariana Islands, we're not quite sure where that is. Where is that? Like northern New Jersey. I don't know where that is. Anyhow, John Kasich won Ohio. Good for him. But Donald Trump, the big winner of the night.
Many things have been happening over the last short period of time. CNN was very nice. They came up with a poll. The poll said 49% to 14 and 15. We just had one from The Economist, just came out, 53%. And it's sort of interesting because I was watching the news a little while ago, and one of the commentators, who I'm not particularly fond of, but these are minor details, said, but Donald Trump doesn't get over 50%. Because I'm at 43, 45, actually now, according to The Economist, I'm at 53. And I have to explain to these people, they don't understand basic physics, basic mathematics, basic whatever you want to call it. When I don't get over 50, we have 4 people, right? We have 4 people. Do you understand that? So when I get 53, and this one, as an example, I had 53, and that's with 4 people. That's an amazing achievement just mathematically when you can get over 50%.
Donald Trump, big winner. Hey, before we get to John Kasich, who did well in Ohio, we need to talk about Marco Rubio. Another one bites the dust. Cue the Queen song. Don't cue the Queen song. We don't have time. We got to keep moving. Marco Rubio, he's done. He tried his best. We'll have more on that in a Brody File commentary. But here is what happened. Since he lost Florida, he decided to say sayonara.
We are the descendants of pilgrims. We are the descendants of settlers. We are the descendants of men and women that headed westward in the Great Plains, not knowing what awaited them. We are the descendants of slaves who overcame that horrible institution to stake their claim in the American dream. We are the descendants of immigrants and exiles who knew and believed that they were destined for more and that there was only one place on earth where that was possible. This is who we are. And let us fight to ensure that this is who we remain. For if we lose that about our country, we'll still be rich and we'll still be powerful, but we will no longer be special. We'll keep fighting. And so I am grateful to all of you that have worked so hard for me. And I want you to know that I will continue every single day to search for ways for me to repay some of this extraordinary debt that I owe this great country. And I want to leave with an expression of gratitude to God, in whose hands all things lie. He has a plan for every one of our lives. Everything that comes from God is good. God is perfect. God makes no mistakes. And he has things planned for all of us. And we await eagerly to see what lies ahead. And so I leave tonight with one final prayer. And I use the words of King David because I remain grateful to God. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. Indeed, everything that is in the heavens and the earth. Yours is the dominion, O Lord. And you exalt yourself as head over all. Both riches and honor come from you, and you rule over all. And in your hand is power and might, and it lies in your hand to make great and to strengthen everyone.
Marco Rubio classing it up here on the Brody File. Time for a Brody File commentary on Marco Rubio. Look, the guy has got political talent and he will be back. There's not even a question in my mind. He's young. He'll be back in 4 years, 8 years. He will be back in presidential politics. What happened though? He tried to be all things to all people. That's really it. He had to toe in the water in the evangelical camp, in the Tea Party camp, in the establishment camp, and he was kind of playing the whole political game. It didn't work. Donald Trump channeled anger. Marco Rubio did not. And then as it relates to the political mess that Rubio got himself in, look, he was talking about bright, optimistic vision for America. And then all of a sudden he talked about Donald Trump spray painting the world orange and all of that crazy stuff. And then the hands were coming. The whole thing was a mess. It wasn't Marco Rubio. And so he looked political. and it just didn't work, and he looked like an 8th grader, quite frankly. Now, Donald Trump can get away with that. I know it's not fair, but that's kind of what Donald Trump does. It's not what Marco Rubio does, and it hurt him. And now Marco Rubio out of the race. Speaking of the race, John Kasich back in the race. Well, kind of. He won Ohio. It's like a home game for him. He is the governor of the state after all. But there it was, the confetti and everything, as Kasich addressed the crowd.
Tonight we arrived in Cleveland, and we went to a restaurant. We thought we could kind of sneak in and grab a quick meal. And when we walked through the restaurant, people started to cheer. My reaction? I said, please don't do that because you're going to make me cry. But to have people believe in you and to believe that you can bring people together and strengthen our country, I have to thank the people of the great state of Ohio. I love you, is all I can tell you. I love you.
All right, those are the Republicans. Now to the Democrats. Bernie Sanders, bless your heart, I got news for you. No one's really feeling the burn anymore. Sorry, I think it's pretty much over. Hillary Clinton, big night on Super Tuesday 2, pretty much winning all the states. She's got this thing locked up, and here she is on primary night.
Tonight, it's clearer than ever that this may be one of the most consequential campaigns of our lifetimes. The next president will walk into the Oval Office next January, sit down at that desk, and start making decisions that will affect the lives and the livelihoods of everyone in this country, indeed everyone on this planet. When we hear a candidate for president call for rounding up 12 million immigrants, banning all Muslims from entering the United States, when he embraces torture, that doesn't make him strong, it makes him wrong.
Hillary Clinton clearly setting her sights now on Donald Trump as we move forward. All right, when we come back, the good doctor is back. Ben Carson endorsing Donald Trump. It's got a lot of his followers, if you will, scratching their collective heads. More on that in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. All right, Ben Carson endorsing Donald Trump, as you know by now. It came as a shock to a lot of folks. So here, in the doctor's own words, is Ben Carson.
It's about we the people. We need to empower the people. That is not going to be done through politics as usual, be that Republican politics as usual or be that Democrat politics as usual. It requires somebody who's a bit of an iconoclast, but someone who has the ability to listen and to make wise decisions. I hope that we can bridge the gap with everybody. All the policies that I have ever talked about, and Mr. Trump is going to be on board with this too. We talk about things that are good for everybody, not for this group or that group. We will be looking at ways to do things that benefit all Americans, that create an equal playing field, equality of opportunity. That's what we're looking for.
Dr. Carson with that surprise endorsement for Donald Trump. You know, he said it was kind of between Kasich and Rubio, but then of course Rubio kind of imploded and Kasich doesn't really have a path. And you know, it's interesting because Dr. Carson quoted this week in Newsmax where he talked about how, yeah, he was talking with Trump and they're kind of working out a deal where he'll do something in the Trump administration if things work out. And I'm like, well, could you maybe not tell us all of that? I mean, believe me, I want to know. But how kosher is it to really kind of say, hey, I endorsed you because you're going to give me some great deal down the road? He's coming into a bit of controversy over that. Anyhow, speaking of controversy, the fact that he endorsed Donald Trump is causing a bit of consternation on the blogosphere. And here are a few comments that we received from Alejandro. Dr. Carson, I loved all the principles that you stood for. I love that you stood against personal attacks and did not return them. I loved your focus on wisdom and the need to make moral choices. I loved your humility and your dependence on God. Donald Trump has none of these. He perpetuates personal attacks and rallies behind them. He does not look for wisdom from above, but believes himself to be the only counselor he needs. He is not humble, but continually boasts in himself. He goes against every principle that you stood for. Ooh, strong words. Here's another one. Deborah. Dr. Carson, you have lectured us for months about civility. Now you are endorsing the most uncivil candidate in the history of elections. 3 exclamation points, I think. I'm very confused about who you really are. I had so much respect for you until this primary cycle. Ooh. Hunter says, hey, people claiming they've lost respect for a man that has saved the lives of many children, brought hope into families' homes, uses his hands and mind to honor God, and has a heart of the most caring. You people bashing Dr. Carson for his decision disgust me. Well, I don't know. Jennifer says, it's time to wake up, people. If Dr. Carson endorses Trump, it's for a very good reason. The real wolf in sheep's clothing are the establishment candidates who say everything you want to hear, but do none of it once they are elected. These folks are run by big banks and are puppets. Donald Trump may not be the example of moral fortitude that you would like him to be, but I don't believe he is the evil Hitler the media wants to portray him as. Dr. Carson's a very intelligent man. If he endorses Trump, it's because he knows things that we don't. I trust Ben Carson. By the way, we should mention those comments were from Dr. Carson's Facebook page when he made the announcement on Facebook as well, when he had that statement. All right, when we come back, one-on-one with Ted Cruz. He's still in this race. He wants that one-on-one matchup with Donald Trump. More from our conversation in Miami. Miami? What is that? Back in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. Look, Ted Cruz has wanted a one-on-one matchup with Donald Trump for the longest time. He's almost there. John Kasich's still in the race. Marco Rubio's gone, and you would think that Ted Cruz finally had his one-on-one matchup. Not exactly. But either way, he still has to contend with Donald Trump, and we had this conversation down in Miami just recently. The evangelical vote. Look, folks thought you were going to do very well in the Deep South. Yeah, you won Oklahoma, but look, Donald Trump is winning some of these states with evangelical power. I am curious to get your take on that because these are self-identified evangelicals. Explain why you think you haven't either done better or Donald Trump is somehow doing well. What is going on here?
Well, listen, this has been a wild and woolly election season, to put it mildly. But it's worth stepping back for a second and taking an assessment of where we traveled. I mean, we started out with 17 candidates. We had an incredibly rich and diverse field. We had one of the most talented, dynamic, young fields of presidential candidates in history. It was an amazing field. And the entire course of this year has been narrowing the field down. Now by any historical measure, Donald Trump is a unique candidate, unique in many, many ways. And he's changed the expectations of this race.
How so?
Donald attracts a coalition where people are angry. They're angry with Washington. They're angry with politicians who've lied to them, who make promises, and they go to Washington, they do the exact same thing. And Donald is a vessel for that anger. And I understand that. I understand being angry. Look, I'm angry with Washington. These lies have consequence. These lies are hurting our lives. They're hurting our kids. They're taking our freedoms away. They're stripping our futures. I understand being angry. I am angry as well. And Donald is a loud, angry, often profane and cursing voice. And for many people, that feels like an outlet for that anger. That's a way to go tell Washington to jump in a lake. And I think that explains much of Donald's support, that combined with just the novelty of being a celebrity.
I know hindsight is 20/20, but was it a mistake by you and the other campaigns to not go after Donald Trump earlier? A lot of folks didn't take him seriously, and now look what has been created, if you will. And do you agree with that assessment?
Listen, he built up a lot of momentum, and he's in a strong position right now. From my perspective, I've been taking him on for months, and for the last several months, there's been an awful lot of times where I was the only one standing up there trading blows with him. And some folks in the media have criticized me, well, a year ago, why didn't you blast into him? Listen, Donald is a force of nature. I will give him credit for that. He is a media celebrity. And you can't take him on from a position of weakness. What I had to do first was build my foundation. I had to build, but before I worried about any other candidate, I had to worry about my campaign, my base, my foundation, so that when I took Donald on, it was standing, to use the biblical terminology, on a foundation of stone and not sand. That I was standing in a position of strength. And you notice the way I took him on. It was not the way some other candidates have, which is engaging in Donald's games, engaging in personal insults. Look, I have no views whatsoever on any part of Donald's anatomy. I don't intend to talk about it. I think people are fed up with the vulgarity, with the insults, with the childness behavior. And so when I have taken Donald on, it's been on issues on substance. It's been on the fact that for 60 years of his life, he described himself as very, very pro-choice, supporting partial birth abortion. It's on the fact that even now, as a presidential candidate, he effusively sings the praises of Planned Parenthood. It's on the fact that when it comes to standing up to Washington, he has been a big advocate and beneficiary of corporate welfare and cronyism. He was a big supporter of Barack Obama's Wall Street bailout, the TARP bailout. Those are substantive bases, but I had to be on a foundation where I could make that contrast. And right now, you look at where the delegates are. We've got 361. He has about 100 more. Nobody else is even close. This is now a delegate race to 1237, and I believe as Republicans continue to unify, we're going to win that race.
Ted Cruz here on the Brody File. All right, when we come back, a double shot of Ted Cruz. Back in a moment with Ted Cruz's controversial comments that are heating up that blogosphere. Back in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. Look, Ted Cruz made some national headlines. Matter of fact, the Brody File video went viral when we interviewed him, and he talked about Donald Trump's voters, called them low information. Excedrin, have a look.
Listen, Donald does well with voters who have relatively low information, who are not that engaged, and who are angry, and they see him as an angry voice. Where we are beating him is when voters get more engaged and they get more informed. When they inform themselves, they realize his record. He's what they're angry at. He is the corruption, and if you want someone to stand up to Washington, the only one who has been doing so in this race is me.
Ted Cruz, I think he probably wished he could have had that back. Campaign had to dig out from that for sure for at least 24 to 48 hours. All right, some actual comments into the Brody File blog. Have a look at this. Senator Cruz's remarks validate my impression of him. Given that I am a low information type, he is smug, holier than thou, and a know-it-all. He'll be schooled some more before this primary season is over, but I'm not sure he's smart enough to wise up to his less than charismatic persona. That's Bob, by the way. Here's another one. What an unfortunate comment. Now you've really done it, Ted. I'm a highly informed individual who follows multiple news sources and reads my news. I also have multiple college and graduate degrees. While I'm not thrilled with Trump as a candidate, I will vote for him before I vote for the same old guy who'll do anything to get a vote. This includes you, Ted. That's from Au Bon Pain. I don't think it's the restaurant, but someone that made a cute little name. All right, here's another one. There are 2 low information voters at my home. I, Elvira, have a PhD in chemistry, and I'm a retired college professor. In addition, I formed a conservative political activist group some 10 years ago to keep informed on political issues. Then my husband, James, has a PhD in biophysics and has retired from his medical products business. Both of us have already voted in Florida for Donald J. Trump. Thank you, Senator Cruz, for letting us know we voted for the right candidate. That from Elvira. Last one here. Oh, Ted, you just alienated another voter that would have supported either you or Trump. Now that you have insulted my intelligence and awareness of what's going on in my country, I'll either vote for Trump or not bother to vote. That from Temple Knight. Boy, that's rough stuff. One more. We should actually add one more. This is very insulting, Mr. Cruz. I have been voting ever since I was 18, almost 50 years, and I have paid very close attention to the nominees. I will be voting for Mr. Trump because I have checked him out and know he will do what he says he will do. Your attacks on those who are behind him are below the belt. That's from Kate Patate. I don't know how to pronounce that. And another one. What an arrogant, elitist piece of work Cruz is. I'm a highly educated voter who also happens to be a political junkie. I keep tabs on everything that's going on, and guess what, Mr. Cruz? I'm voting for Donald Trump. That's from Todd. All right, back in a moment with some closing thoughts. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. Hey, look, before we leave you, we want to kind of look at the road ahead. We're always looking at the road ahead, and boy, it is shaping up pretty good for Donald Trump, actually. I mean, if you look at the actual map, I mean, you've got New York coming up, which, of course, I mean, he's got New York values. He's going to do well there. Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, all those states are coming up in the Northeast. Wisconsin's coming up. It's a very blue-collar type state. Trump should do well there, though John Kasich could do well there, too. And then next week, actually, or I should say coming up on, next week, it'll be Arizona. And, of course, Arizona is big on the whole immigration issue. And, of course, Donald Trump's doing well there, and the polls show that he will indeed do very well in Arizona. So if you look at all of this, it just kind of adds up to Donald Trump continuing that march down the field. A lot of these states are winner-take-all. New York is not winner-take-all, but it's designed in a way that Donald Trump will probably get the bulk of the delegates there. And so, bottom line, as it relates to delegates, look, Donald Trump did so well this past Tuesday that he actually tripled his lead in delegates. He had about a 95 delegate lead or so on Ted Cruz, and now it's at about almost 300. So, look, it's going to be very hard to stop Donald Trump. Can he get to the 1,237 mark? That's the big question. If he gets there, obviously it's over. The Republican establishment, Kasich, Cruz, hoping to somehow stop him before he gets to 1237. Now, what would happen at that point? Well, then we go to a hot summer in Cleveland, because guess what? All bets are off. If Trump doesn't have the 1237, there's going to be calls to say, hey, we need a candidate that will basically bring the Republican Party together, and that's where they could try to take that nomination away from Donald Trump. I say away, technically, if he didn't have the 1237, he never had the nomination to begin with. The problem is that if Trump rolls into Cleveland with 1,100 delegates, 100 short or so, are you really going to strip the nomination away from Trump at that point? I mean, talk about riots, talk about hot in Cleveland. That's Betty White's show. Isn't that a show? Hot in Cleveland. That's what's going to happen. They're going to put reruns of Hot in Cleveland on, and we're going to have a whole lot of overtime on the Brody File that month for sure. That does it for this week. Until next time, everybody, God bless and have a great week.